villain, the woman that they call Phillies Karen. Home run into the stand Friday sent fans scrambling, hot potato, like everybody's at a barbecue, and then suddenly, is that a cat? Whose cat is that? I don't know, just get it. So a dad scooped up the ball, took it back to his son.
In just seconds, one short clip flipped her whole life upside down. She wasn't just a random fan in the stands anymore. She got stamped as the ultimate villain of the season. Overnight, the internet went digging, turning into full-time detectives, spinning wild theories about who she was, what she did for work, and where she came from. Headlines blasted that she had already been fired from her job in Jersey. But was that the truth? Or just the internet writing its own scandalous script? It all kicked off at Lone Depot Park during Phillies versus Marlins. Harrison Bader smashed a homer deep into left field. The crowd roared, and every eye followed that ball. A young boy stretched his hands with pure joy, ready for his moment, and that's when it happened. A woman leaned in, snatched the ball right out of the air, and claimed it as her own. The entire stadium groaned in disbelief like they had just watched a robbery in broad daylight. The cameras didn't miss a thing. Every angle, every smirk, every second of her gripping that ball was broadcast for the world to see. By sunrise, she had a brand new nickname burned into her forehead, Phillies Karen. And once the internet stamps you with a name like that, there's no running, no hiding. Clips of her clutching the ball with that triumphant grin spread across TikTok and Instagram like a wildfire nobody could put out. Outrage became the currency of the night, and she was the viral villain everyone wanted to roast. That's when the so-called internet sleuths swarmed in.
She took it from the little kid, bro. Oh, shit.
So she's bitching at this guy now.
Reddit threads, Facebook groups, Twitter detectives, all convinced they had cracked her identity. Screenshots flew everywhere. Supposed evidence, yearbook pics, even old PTA rumors started to surface. Some people swore they recognized her from school events, shouting online, "Protect the kids!" One viral post screamed, "If she'll snatch a baseball, what else would she snatch from children?" The narrative was no longer a joke. It was morphing into a straight-up digital witch hunt. By September 6th, hashtags like hashtag #FirePhilliesKaren and hashtag #ProtectTheKids weren't just trending, they were exploding. Thousands of posts turned that one short clip into a public crusade, and suddenly she wasn't just a woman at a ball game, she was the internet's newest enemy #1. TikTok wasn't just replaying the footage anymore, creators were straight up turning it into theater. Dramatic reenactments popped up everywhere, some adding captions like, "This is who's around your children!" That line hit like lightning, especially when big-name influencers jumped in swearing she had already been fired. But here's the truth, outrage always outruns the facts. Nobody stopped to question if any of it was even real. The script was too juicy, too clean to resist. Woman snatches from a kid, gets blasted on live TV, pays the ultimate price. Story over, right? Wrong. Cracks started to show fast. No official word came from the Phillies. Not a peep from Major League Baseball, not even a single statement from the school district she was supposedly tied to. Still, the internet didn't care.
Absolutely annihilated. And then the Marlins, good on the Marlins.
They treated whispers like gospel, dragging her straight into the same viral courtroom where CEOs, reality stars, and celebrities had all been judged before. Think back to that infamous Coldplay kiss cam fiasco at the US Open where a CEO was caught on camera snatching a kid's hat. That scandal had receipts. Here, the so-called evidence was flimsy at best. Blurry screenshots, anonymous claims, whispers stitched into a messy storyline. But none of that mattered. By the very next morning, TikTok's For You page was drowning in edits of her clutching that baseball like it was stolen treasure. One creator zoomed in tight on her face, dropped a sinister soundtrack, and compared her grin to a full-on Disney villain. The comment section turned vicious. One user wrote, "That kid's face will haunt me forever." Another spat, "She deserves to lose way more than a baseball." That raw anger gave the rumors wings, fueling Reddit threads at warp speed. Titles like "Phillies Karen teaches your kids" shot straight to the top of forums. People weren't waiting for facts, they were writing their own. Self-proclaimed online detectives started posting supposed screenshots from school directories, circling names like they had cracked a high-profile case. Some even bragged about having insider knowledge, as if they were breaking Watergate instead of chasing a foul ball scandal. "She's gone!" That was the chant online, and people ate it up. Not because it was proven, but because it was the perfect ending to the story they wanted to believe. Karma quick, karma clean, served up in a viral headline. Soon, TikTok creators were stitching rumors into fake breaking news reports.
But this bitch is never going to be forgotten. Like, Phillies Karen is now going to be a thing. She is being publicly shamed. There are people that are trying to dock.
Standing in front of green screens with bogus termination letters flashing behind them like it was hard evidence. Dramatic captions screamed, "Breaking! Phillies Karen just got fired from her school job." The wildest part? None of it was confirmed, not a shred of verified proof. But when the internet decides a story is real, facts don't matter anymore. In people's minds, perception becomes reality. And that's exactly what took over here. Accuracy got tossed out the window. What ruled now was speed, virality, and the thrill of ripping someone's life apart in real time. The internet had crowned its new villain, and she wore the title of America's Most Hated Fan. One TikTok alone crossed 1 million views in less than 24 hours, ending with a brutal caption, "Actions have consequences." She took the ball, now she lost her job. That was the narrative. Clean, sharp, ruthless. And the crowd couldn't get enough. Back in Hamilton, Facebook moms groups exploded into chaos. Parents fired off panicked posts demanding answers. Others warned, this better not be someone around kids. The ball game drama had shifted into a morality debate. Suddenly, it wasn't about baseball anymore. It was about trust, character, and whether schools were letting dangerous people near children. Then it got even darker. Every repost pulled more supposed details into the light. Anonymous accounts dropping alleged addresses, phone numbers, even old family photos. None of it verified, but outrage doesn't wait for receipts. Once the mob is hungry, facts get trampled in the stampede.
The whole haul. So it's weird, man. It's bittersweet.
I feel similar to it. Like, if I was in this position,
By now, the internet wasn't just convinced she was fired, they were celebrating it. Comments racked up like cheers at a stadium. Poetic justice, karma, quick and easy. Every blurry screenshot, every anonymous confirmation was treated as if it came straight from an official source. And the stakes were rising with every click. This wasn't just about a foul ball anymore. It was about how far the digital mob was willing to go to destroy someone over 10 seconds of selfishness caught on camera. By the end of that week, the frenzy was at a fever pitch. Parents in Hamilton demanded immediate answers. Hashtags surged higher, and the crowd's thirst for retribution showed no signs of slowing down. Talk shows couldn't get enough. They replayed that same 10-second clip over and over until it burned into everyone's brain. Silence was no longer an option. The school district was cornered inside a viral storm it couldn't control, and the question hanging over Hamilton was chilling. Would they cave to the mob or stand up against it? Then came the next explosion: mainstream media. By day 3, Philly outlets pounced on the frenzy, eager to squeeze headlines out of a story that had everything: baseball, outrage, morality, and a ready-made villain. The internet had already handed down its guilty verdict, but now the local press rushed in to catch up. Regional sites splashed headlines across their pages. Fan accused of snatching ball from child, rumors swirl around local school employee. The wording was cautious, sprinkled with allegedly and reportedly, but the effect was the same. The damage was already cemented. And then came the twist. Hamilton Public Schools finally broke their silence, but instead of calming the fire, their statement poured jet fuel all over it. Late that afternoon, just 3 days after she'd been branded Phillies Karen, the district released a short, carefully polished memo. It read like every PR template you've ever seen: vague, shiny, designed to say everything while actually saying nothing. Hamilton Public Schools is aware of the social media reports concerning a community member identified in connection with a viral video. While we cannot comment on personnel matters, we remain committed to upholding the highest standards for our staff and ensuring the safety and well-being of our students. On the surface, it sounded neutral, responsible. But to the internet, it was practically a confession. TikTokers clipped the statement, slapped ominous music behind it, and flooded timelines with captions like, "They just admitted it," over on Twitter, or X as Elon insists. Users lit up the feed with one take. The district's refusal to confirm her status meant only one thing: she'd already been fired behind the scenes. What was meant to be damage control backfired instantly. Instead of easing the outrage, it supercharged it. To the court of public opinion, this wasn't a cautious statement. This was proof of guilt. And parents in Hamilton, they weren't reassured either. Local Facebook groups erupted with angry threads. Why won't they just say yes or no? One mother's post demanded, pulling in hundreds of likes. Another user warned, that's code for they're investigating her. Just watch. Suddenly, the district wasn't just dealing with an online pile-on, it was facing a full-blown local trust crisis. Parents wanted answers, the community wanted transparency, and with every hour of silence, it felt like another nail hammered into Cheryl's coffin. By day 4, Philadelphia's mainstream outlets doubled down. Big names like the Philly Inquirer and NBC 10 blasted headlines that tiptoed around hard confirmation but leaned heavy on innuendo. Fan accused of snatching ball from child linked to local school employee, that one word, linked, did all the heavy lifting, cementing the narrative without saying anything official. And once the story jumped from gossip blogs to mainstream channels, it was locked in. The cycle fed itself. Every segment recycled the same haunting footage. Cheryl lunging, clutching the ball, her smirk frozen in time. Sports radio lines jammed with furious callers demanding she be fired. ESPN ran debates about sportsmanship, Reddit threads boiled with conspiracy theories. And on every platform, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Cheryl's face was unavoidable. Then came the influencers. They weren't just sharing the clip anymore, they were weaponizing the school's statement. One self-styled justice warrior, Justice Mama, held up the district's vague memo and shouted into her camera, "This is how institutions protect bad people." Her fiery rant pulled nearly 1 million views in just 48 hours. Another creator went even further, editing the district's words into a fake breaking news broadcast, complete with sirens, tickers, and bold text blaring, "Phillies Karen terminated from school job." The kicker? None of it was verified, not a shred of proof. But by now, truth was irrelevant. The mob had its story, the internet had its villain, and Cheryl? She stayed completely silent. No interviews, no tweets, no posts, nothing. Her absence only magnified the storm. To the mob, silence looked like guilt. One Reddit user summed it up in a viral comment. "If she wasn't guilty, she'd be speaking up right now." That single line racked up thousands of upvotes, sealing her fate in the court of public opinion. Some swore she was hiding behind lawyers, and that only made her look more guilty in the feeds of millions. Cheryl wasn't a person anymore. She had turned into a phantom, a ghostly villain haunting every timeline without ever speaking a word. And it didn't stop with her. Suddenly, her alleged relatives were dragged into the storm. Anonymous accounts posted photos of people they claimed were her siblings or cousins, slapping captions like, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree." This wasn't outrage anymore. This was a witch hunt in full swing. By day 5, the frenzy had gone national. CNN rolled out a polished segment about sportsmanship and morality in the age of virality. Fox News branded her with a brutal label, the foul ball thief. And the New York Post? They went all in, plastering their front page with the headline, "Caught red-handed, Phillies fan steals ball from boy." Of course, they couldn't resist sprinkling in speculation about her supposed school job in New Jersey. Proof didn't matter anymore. Scandal alone sold papers, clicks, and ratings. While networks cashed in, Cheryl's world was collapsing piece by piece. Reports claimed she had deleted her LinkedIn and locked down her Facebook. But it was too late. Screenshots of old posts were already circulating. Smiling selfies at Phillies games, family cookouts, birthday photos. Strangers combed through years of her personal life, twisting harmless memories into evidence for the viral trial. And with every repost, the legend of Phillies Karen grew darker, more monstrous. It wasn't about baseball anymore. It was about destroying her brick by brick, post by post. The frenzy only grew louder, turning ordinary moments into courtroom exhibits for millions of strangers who wanted blood. Then came the breaking point. A petition popped up on change.org with a title that set the internet on fire. Fire Phillies Karen from Hamilton Public Schools immediately. Within 48 hours, it racked up over 20,000 signatures. People from across the country, many who had never stepped foot in Hamilton, never even cared about baseball, were now demanding her head on a platter. But here's the truth. At this stage, the outrage wasn't really about Cheryl anymore. It was about something bigger. The raw thrill of proving the internet's power. Collective fury had taken over, and the mob wasn't slowing down. It was just getting started. Outrage had turned into entertainment, and the petition was its shining trophy. For Hamilton Public Schools, the situation had twisted into a full-blown nightmare. If Cheryl really was employed, they faced a brutal choice: protect their students' image of safety or risk looking like they were bowing down to mob justice. If she wasn't employed at all, proving it without violating privacy laws was almost impossible. Either way, their earlier vague statement had backfired, and every single hour of silence was gasoline on the fire. Meanwhile, the boy at the center of it all, the kid whose small hands had stretched out for that baseball, was fading into the background. His face had been turned into a meme, his disappointment frozen forever in GIFs and edits, but the internet had already moved on. This wasn't about him anymore. This was about punishing her, about venting collective rage, about turning outrage into spectacle. By the end of the first week, Cheryl wasn't just a fan in a Phillies jersey. She had become a living case study. Proof that the internet can chew someone up and spit them out over one foul ball. Her name was stamped across headlines, hashtags, petitions, and endless op-eds. And still, the core mystery remained unsolved. Had Hamilton actually fired her? Or was the whole thing just smoke and mirrors crafted by a mob hungry for its next villain? By day 7, the chaos didn't slow down. It intensified. Reporters camped outside Hamilton's district offices like it was a crime scene. TikTok stitched together conspiracy theories about secret hearings happening behind closed doors. YouTubers dropped hour-long breakdowns with titles like The Phillies Karen Scandal, What They're Not Telling You. And Cheryl? She stayed dead silent. No statements, no defenses, just absence. That silence was louder than anything she could have said. Every second she stayed quiet, the internet filled the void with more memes, more rumors, more rage. Her life didn't feel like her own anymore. It belonged to the outrage machine. That foul ball wasn't just a souvenir. It had become the spark for a cultural wildfire, and nobody knew when or if it would burn out. Then came day 8. The silence finally cracked, but not in the way anyone expected. No TV interview, no lawyer-led press conference. Instead, her words slipped out through a shaky Facebook post that vanished within hours, but screenshots made it permanent. Her message was short and desperate. I did not steal anything. I caught a foul ball like thousands of fans do. The job rumors are lies. Please stop attacking my family. Simple words, but they read like desperation. The internet pounced. Critics mocked her phrasing, dissected every single line, and stamped it an excuse, not an apology. And in the court of viral outrage, excuses don't survive. Headlines blared, Phillies Karen breaks her silence. Morning shows debated endlessly. Some called her tone deaf, others defended her right to speak. But the narrative was already cemented. Her words didn't clear her name, they only deepened her role as the villain. And then the boy's family stepped in. His father delivered a cutting line in a local interview. It's not about the ball, it's about the way she snatched it right in front of him. That's not sportsmanship. One sentence. And just like that, the outrage roared back to life. Clips of his words spliced with the viral footage of Cheryl clutching the ball spread across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube like a storm. The contrast was brutal. On one side, a woman pleading that she was unfairly attacked. On the other, a disappointed child and a protective father delivering a soundbite sharp enough to slice through every defense. In the world of virality, there was no contest. His words became gospel. Her post? Just another meme. For Cheryl, her attempt to take control had backfired. Instead of softening the mob, her defense only fueled the rage. What began as a debate about sportsmanship had mutated into something darker. Could America's newest viral villain ever recover from total digital destruction? Then came the thunderclap. Hamilton Public Schools dropped a blunt statement. We have no record of a Cheryl Richardson Wagner ever being employed here. Sharp, direct, impossible to misread. On paper, it shattered the rumor, but online, it made the fire burn hotter. If she was never employed there, then where did the screenshots come from? If she wasn't fired, why were thousands convinced she was? The contradiction didn't end the scandal. It escalated it. Some saw the denial as spin. Others called it a cover-up. Maybe she wasn't on payroll, they speculated. Maybe she was a contractor, maybe a substitute. In the internet's courtroom, facts don't matter. Belief does, and belief had already crowned her guilty. The irony was vicious. While the mob screamed that she'd been fired, Hamilton swore she was never on payroll at all. And Cheryl? Silent again. No press release, no interview, no apology video, nothing. Her silence became a vacuum, and the mob filled it with theories. Was she hiding, lawyering up, or as one viral YouTuber speculated, preparing to sue for defamation? With no answers, creators spun wilder conspiracies. Suddenly, Cheryl wasn't just a villain, she was a mystery wrapped in rumors, framed as the center of some bigger cover-up. Commentators compared her to Steve Bartman and the infamous Cubs foul ball scandal. Others brought up the millionaire CEO who snatched a kid's hat at the US Open, or the Coldplay Kiss Cam fiasco. But Cheryl's case felt messier. It was tangled with morality, employment records, and the terrifying idea that maybe, just maybe, the mob had targeted the wrong woman. Hamilton's denial should have killed the story. Instead, it poured fuel on the blaze. Screenshots of alleged staff rosters and old LinkedIn profiles resurfaced with captions like, "So we're just supposed to believe them?" And with that, the fire raged higher than ever. TikTok lit up with split-screen edits. Hamilton's denial on one side, proof on the other, stamped with captions screaming, "They're hiding something." The denial wasn't closure, it was gasoline. And in the age of viral outrage, suspicion always burns hotter than fact. On Reddit, theories spread like wildfire. Thread after thread claimed Hamilton Public Schools was just playing with words. Maybe Cheryl wasn't a full employee. Maybe she was a contractor. Maybe she used a maiden name. To the mob, every rumor looked like proof. Every contradiction became fresh fuel for another conspiracy. One viral comment nailed the mood. The cover-up is worse than the crime. And even though in reality there was no cover-up, online perception was all that mattered. Once a narrative takes root, it grows branches of its own. Sports radio hosts debated live on air whether Hamilton was dodging liability. A Philly columnist wrote, "It's easier to say she never worked there than admit they hired the woman who stole a child's joy on national TV." That single line spread like gospel across social feeds. Meanwhile, YouTubers and podcasters cashed in big. Hour-long breakdowns dissected Cheryl's smirk, her silence, even her posture. Creators declared, if she wasn't fired, why hasn't she spoken up? One host's rant alone pulled in hundreds of thousands of views. Even sketchy emails started circulating, supposed screenshots of exchanges with administrators. Real or fake, it didn't matter. Authenticity was irrelevant. Perception was everything. And the irony? Strangers with no connection to Cheryl had dragged an entire school district into chaos. Officials scrambled while commentators reignited comparisons. Steve Bartman's infamous foul ball disaster in Chicago. The millionaire CEO caught snatching a kid's hat at the US Open on the Coldplay Kiss Cam fiasco. The difference? Those scandals had hard receipts. Cheryl's alleged firing was pure fiction, a fantasy created and sustained by the internet's will to believe. By now, she wasn't just a Phillies fan caught in the wrong moment. She had become a symbol, proof of how fast the digital mob can choose, target, and sacrifice anyone. In this age of viral outrage, people are tried, judged, and sentenced online in record time. That was Cheryl's fate, sealed before the truth ever had a chance to break through. And when the truth did finally land, it was brutally simple. Cheryl Richardson Wagner had never been fired because she had never worked for Hamilton Public Schools in the first place. The viral directories? Misreads. The screenshots? Fakes, coincidences, or both. The mob had fired at the wrong target all along. But here's the cruel twist. Cheryl didn't lose a job. She lost something far harder to win back, her reputation. That was the real punishment, and no official statement could undo it. Even after the truth came out, TikTok comments still screamed, "Cover up!" Memes kept spreading. Tweets with tens of thousands of likes sneered, "Doesn't matter if she worked there or not, she stole from a kid." And that's the chilling reality. In the court of public opinion, evidence is optional. The internet doesn't wait for facts. It writes its own script, crowns its villains, and dares reality to catch up. So what do we make of Philly's Karen? Maybe just another footnote in the long list of fan scandals. Or maybe a warning of how quickly the mob can turn anyone into a villain, guilty or not. Because if one foul ball can cost someone their peace, what happens when the next viral outrage explodes? And that's the saga of Philly's Karen, for now. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.